Hey guys, what's going on? Austin here with the Entrepreneur Alliance. And today I have Allen Brouwer here, one of the most successful guys we've ever had here in a masterclass with the Entrepreneur Alliance. This guy, not only did he make $100,000 per month by the time he was 28, he's been ranked on Forbes 30 under 30. And I think coolest thing of all, he's been the guy ringing the stock exchange bell right on opening day. So
Yeah, that's
Allen,
awesome.
wave hi, say what's going on.
What's going on, guys? How are you?
Good. So today, Alan's going to actually talk about the successful foundation you need to have to build a business. See, it doesn't matter how high your skyscraper goes if you don't have that solid foundation in the beginning. If not, it'll all come crashing down with every opportunity. But if you get that solid foundation down, the habits, the strategies, the mindset it takes to win, you can apply that strategy and that mindset and that winning attitude to everything. And so I think this is going to be one of the most important videos you watch here in the Entrepreneur Alliance Masterclasses. So make sure you turn off all distractions, put your phone on silent, take notes, guys, because today's masterclass is going to be a game changer for you. So with that all said, Allen, kind of tell me, how did we get started here? What was maybe the first few businesses or steps in your life that got you to the point you are today?
Yeah. So what got me to where I am today, and where did this all begin? So I started so many businesses when I was younger, and this goes back to like grade school, just trying to make some money and do some work. I was always like ambitious, and I always wanted to make money. So I would always start these little side projects but fast forward into like real business. I have probably in my early 20s started 9 to 12 businesses. And it first started out with a clothing and apparel company brand, if you will, for college students. And the only thing that we would make was tank tops and V-necks.
Oh my gosh,
It.
I know
Yes.
so many people just like that off the top of my head. But it's a great segue into business, right? Like,
Yes.
understand inventory and marketing and what it means to build a brand. That's so funny. I think a lot of our viewers are going to be watching this being like, oh, I tried to build a brand once like that. How was it?
Yep.
Was it successful?
Let me tell you, I have a garage full of tank tops and V-necks still. No, it was a complete failure, but I learned so much from it. And that was like the little catalyst that started everything. So from there, I've done software, consulting, and Amazon businesses. And now I'm the co-founder of a company called Best Self Co.
Yeah. And so I think a lot of us all know about Best Self Co, but I think, maybe it's not, but I think that the best product that you guys have is the journal itself. It's at least kind of got how I started into, creating daily habits and routines every morning, gratitude journaling, and making sure everything is planned out for that one thing I get accomplished today. Would you say that's like your best product for success in your business, or would it be maybe the coaching and stuff like that too?
I would say 100% it's the self journal. And actually, we started the self journal. I say we, Catherine is my business partner. We started the self journal on Kickstarter as just a product that we wanted. And after Kickstarter, we realized we could build a whole business out of this. So it was actually the product that spawned the business, not the other way around.
Wow, that's really interesting. And so has that product evolved into maybe other categories too? Or is the Best Self Journal everything that Best Self Company is about?
Best Self Co. is now, our mission is to take over the office environment. But with that being said, we're also trying to improve the lives of other people out there, maybe not entrepreneurs, but anyone who wants to pick up our products and find some benefit and value in it. So we're finding all these little different sub-segments that our business and our products cater to. Initially, we're talking and speaking directly to entrepreneurs, business owners, maybe some high-level managers. And we found that now people are using it for health. They're using it for writing books. They're using it for a multitude of things.
I love that. And that's the thing about this class is it's going to be so applicable to everything you do for the rest of your life, right?
Yeah.
You set up the habits today and you reap the dividends of that for the rest of your life. That's what's cool. It's like, all these other masterclass that we're doing, like Facebook bots or, advertising, on LinkedIn, all of these are here today, gone tomorrow, but these are the foundations for success. And they are still just as true today as they were 200,000 years ago.
Totally. And I'm a big, big believer in methodologies. So if I could have a methodology or a framework to do something and then build the tactics and strategies on top of that, I'm a big proponent of that. I don't believe in like hedging all your bets into a tactic or into a strategy, because here's the thing, tactics die and strategies fade away. So if you're just building everything on, like you said, a Facebook bot, or just you have your one acquisition channel that you've nailed down, but you have nothing else, all you have to do is have someone pull that rug out from underneath you, and you don't know where to start, or you have to start all over. So I'm a big proponent of, let's build a methodology and a framework that will actually be the foundation, like you said, and then we can stack things on top of there.
Yeah. I think what was a big game changer for me in life was at 19 years old, my first mentor gave me a CD that had a guy named Jim Rohn on it. Do you know Jim Rohn?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So if you guys don't know Jim Rohn, he's the guy that Tony Robbins used to be an usher for when he was a kid, and he would sell tickets at Jim Rohn seminars and things like that. Jim actually died back in 2009. Wish I had gotten to see him before he passed, but today his legacy still lives on. And I still have that CD today. I still listen to it. It's an amazing foundation, and there's no tactics in there. It's all about mindset and development in the philosophy to win.
Totally.
And I think another great philosophy book was Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So crazy enough, I was actually pre-dental for my first 2 years in college. And when I read that book, it really changed my mindset and philosophy of what I wanted and who I wanted to be, more importantly.
Totally.
And so literally the next day after reading that book, I changed my major to marketing.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
literally.
awesome.
It was just an action trigger. Like, I had to change. I knew that this is a dead end path for me and is not the life I really wanted. Since then, I've been almost obsessed with personal development. I've gone in waves of like trying almost everything in the world, from audio CDs to like, I'm still big on audios, but like more in the car and stuff.
Sure.
I do love Headspace though. Have you ever tried Headspace, the app?
I do. I actually really, really love Headspace. I meditate every morning. One meditation tool that I use now, it's actually on Spotify. It's Dr. Wayne Dyer's mindful meditation. It's pretty much just ambient sounds, but it's perfect. And I think if you're just starting out, definitely use Headspace. Then you can graduate to non-guided meditations.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I personally love Headspace. I just kind of have the what's it called? The top 10 or something like that.
Yeah.
It's the free version. And so I still listen to that. I just put it out kind of.
That's all you need.
Yeah, it's great. And then there's a few other ones you can find on YouTube as well that are all great. Tim Ferriss talks about this in Tools of Titans, and that's kind of how I got introduced to meditation. But anyway, today we're going to really dive into a lot of the tactics that you've seen across the board. So yes, some people are successful in meditation. Some people listen to audios, but ultimately there are 4 P's to success. And so that's where we're going to really dive into those subjects today. I'm not sure if this is proprietary to you or maybe just something you've noticed, but I think that these are, I've already reviewed over them, and I think that these are like so true. If you nail these 4 P's down today, you are setting yourself up for success.
Absolutely.
Amazing foundation you guys can do. So make sure you write down these 4 P's because I can't tell you what, like, this is going to be the biggest training that you're going to have all year.
Sweet. Yeah. So the 4 P's, I think we can dive into the first one, which is positivity. So why is positivity so important in life? And I'm not talking about some woo-woo bullshit here. This is like, if you flip this switch, your world's going to change. You're no longer going to be a victim. You're no longer going to consider yourself at the mercy of other people and their circumstances. But what the main two things here for positivity is to realize that when you're focused on positive things and you have a positive mindset and a positive outcome to start the day with, you're going to realize all the different things that come up. So rather than 100 things that come up and you think, oh, look at all these things that's going wrong, you see the one thing that can go right. And a lot of times what's going to happen is barriers will come up, roadblocks will stand in your way. And rather than having that doubtful portion of you that's like, oh, do I have to start this all over again? You're more positive about, I got this, we can do it. So here's two things that you can do to start developing a strong positive mindset. Number one is to start writing down things that you're grateful for. And do this on a consistent basis, on a daily basis. It's much easier if you do this first thing in the morning and in the evening to bookend your day with positivity. So in the morning, you can write down, I am grateful for, this cup of coffee because I brewed it myself. Or you're grateful that the sun is shining. Or you're grateful for that it's raining and it hasn't rained in a while, and I love rainy days. You work from home, you stay in your sweats all day. Like that's a good day for me sometimes. So it's just like changing your frame to find little things that you're grateful for, so you can get more things to be grateful for in your life. And sometimes people say, oh, Alan, I write the same thing over and over and over again every morning. And now it's just like, routine. And I don't even think about it. I'm just doing it to do it. Here's a good way to get out of that. Write one thing that you're grateful for and then 3 reasons why, instead of 3 things that you're grateful for. That's a way to go deep and actually connect deeper with that gratitude portion.
Wow, I love that. One of my original mentors back in the day, he said, if the why is strong, the how is easy. You let your whys push you through any obstacles. And Jim Rohn, I still hear this all the time too in my head, is, discipline your disappointment. So you were saying in the beginning, like when obstacles come up and you just feel like, oh man, like why did that happen? That's going to happen all the time in life. And you got to expect it. It's part of playing the game. But if you can discipline that disappointing feeling, you can push through any obstacle that happens, especially when you have the strong why behind you.
Totally. So that's the second thing that you need is a strong why. So the first is being grateful for what you have, so you can attract more of things to be grateful for. And number 2 is to have a deep rooted why. So I'm going through Q2 right now, and I've got 3 huge goals on my whiteboard behind this camera here. And underneath each goal, there's why this goal is important to me. And the reason being is because when those roadblocks do come up, when shit hits the fan, when you're down and you feel like the world is coming against you, because guess what? Business is hard and you're going to experience some struggles and some pain points. If you reflect back on your why and you have a deep enough why of why you're trying to accomplish that goal, or why you're trying to build this business, or why you're trying to do something important in your life, you're going to figure out a way to bust through that barrier, get around it, or get over it some way, shape, or form.
I love that. That's amazing. Yeah, I think that a lot of people in entrepreneurship quit too early. It is really hard in the beginning when you don't know all of the stuff it takes to be successful. Of course, you have to have the great business, but then you got to how to figure out how to market that business. And then you got to wear the legal hat and the accounting hat and all that. And that can cloud the end goal. But if you ultimately know why you're doing all of this crap that you got to get through, that's when, you've made it past 98% of the people in the world.
Absolutely. And like I said, if I didn't have a strong enough why, I would have given up back at the t-shirt days when I was slinging V-necks and tank tops,
So what was your why with that business? Huh? What was your why there?
Did you get out of the corporate grind? really.
Okay.
I had a corporate job and I loved what I did, but I couldn't see the end in sight. And the end that I had in mind with that job, the CEO of the company straight up told me, "You're never going to get there, so don't even worry about it." And I was like, "Well, what the hell am I doing here?" So that's what spawned me to get out of my own way and really take control of everything as much as possible. And I'm like, I'm going to start my own little side business and see what happens.
Yeah.
Fortunately, it didn't work.
So that's a good question to segue into. I know a lot of the people that are watching have a full-time or a part-time job right now, and they have like this idea or at least like a side hustle already starting. Do you have any advice for those people that like you've done it, you kicked the cube and then you became uber successful? So what is like maybe some of the mindset things that are needing to be switched to go from being an employee to being an entrepreneur?
There's a few things, but the key takeaways from going from employee to entrepreneur is you need to take 100% control of your life. Once I realized that, it was like, oh, it's so easy. Literally within weeks, I was able to leave my job. But you need to take 100% control of your life because we're so conditioned and we're so used to people telling us what to do or what we can get done within our day and within our time frame. And pretty much we wait for other people's permission to get a raise. Like we wait for other people to give us permission to go do something, right? You don't need other people's permission. You don't need other people's, recommendation. It's just go ahead and do it. And don't wait for anybody else. That's number one. And then number two is really map out a plan, because if you have a full-time job, your time is limited now. So where you could use 16 hours in your day to work on your business, now you maybe only have like 2 to maybe 3 hours max to work on your side project. So it's being very strict with your time and how you're going to use that time and energy and those resources, those limited resources that you have, to get you out of that job.
Yeah, all great advice. Dude, I loved it when you said, like, you don't need permission, right? Like, I feel like a lot of people are just waiting around for somebody to say, it's okay for you to go after your dreams. So I remember, like, I had a huge gut in my feeling, in my stomach, maybe, I don't know, 8 to 10 months ago, where my business was doing good. I was making like $5,000 a month, but it wasn't where I wanted to be. And I was like right on the line. If I lost a client, I would be pretty much screwed for rent. But if I gained a client, I would be like pretty much like wealthy in terms of all my friends. So it was like on the cusp there.
Yeah.
And so I was doing 2 things at the same time. I was trying to interview with all of these agencies in Atlanta and trying to get basically be the digital marketer for like SunTrust or Ben & Jerry's or something like that. Or on the other side, go find my own client. And so like I would be every day going between interviews and consultations, and just like that mindset is like, I needed this to happen. Like my back was against the wall, and I knew like if next month I lost a client, I wasn't going to make next month's rent. And so that's what propelled me. That was my why, is like independence.
Yeah.
And so, dude, if you guys are needing permission right now, take those chains off of you and just go for it.
Totally, 100%, and realize no one's going to hold your hand doing it. There is guidance, there are resources out there to figure things out, but the quickest way to learn is by doing it, really.
Absolutely. So what's your opinion then on like going to college versus starting your own business? Is it right for everybody, or what do you think about specifically for entrepreneurs? If like they have that gut feeling that they're just graduating high school and maybe they don't feel like they want to go down the path as everybody else, but parents, teachers, mentors of any other kind, and then including all their friends are going off to college and they don't know if that's right for them. What advice would you have for those guys?
Sure. For those who are just graduating high school and are torn between the two paths, it's awesome that you have those paths in front of you that early in your life. I really didn't get involved into like the entrepreneur mindset program type thing till after college, where I'm like, this is my calling. Where if you found that in high school, cool, definitely pursue that. My thoughts on college are different. you're not going to learn shit in college. What you will get in college is life experience. So it's your first time away from home. You're going to learn to survive on your own. You're going to learn to interact with people depending on the type of college that you go to. Interact with people who you would not interact with at all, because let's face it, high school and the towns that we live in, everyone's pretty much the same. But when you're pulling in that huge diverse group of people into a university or in a college, it's a melting pot of cultural shock, interacting with different people, figuring out other people's quirks and like what makes people different. That I'm a big proponent of. But as far as getting a degree and going down that path, it's really not worth it.
Yeah. You know, I think at least at UGA, at my school that I went to, there was a huge entrepreneur certificate. And I actually didn't end up going for it. I was like, well, I had a business in college, so I didn't have time. But at the same time, I think a lot of my friends were still trying to study the art of being an entrepreneur. And in my opinion, entrepreneurship is about doing it. It's not about knowing what to do, but actually taking the actions. So in college, I feel like, yes, you learn maybe what to do, but not how to do it. And so if you guys are being a great student of success, that's important, but it's actually just trying to start a side business while you're learning those things. It's the experience that will lay that foundation more than anything.
Totally. And there's also a huge bridge between when real world stuff actually makes it to the classroom. It's almost outdated by the time it makes it into the curriculum.
Yeah, absolutely true, man. Hey, so let's move on. So we had the first one was
positivity, baby.
Positivity. And of course, you have to have a strong why, and you have to be very grateful for that why. And you write those things down every day. And if you continuously are, saying the same thing, why not write out beneath those whys, why you're beneath the one grateful thing you are, why you're grateful for that one thing, correct?
Correct.
So what's number two?
Number two is planning. So why is planning so important? And people are probably like, ugh, I got to plan stuff. I don't know. My business changes all the time. Well, get that mindset out of here. Planning is so freaking important, because I will tell you, if you're the type of person who's just I want my freedom, don't get me wrong. I love my freedom. I live for my freedom, and I live for spontaneity, for just doing things at will, because that's why I want to be an entrepreneur. So I can do what I want, when I want, with whoever I want, however long I want, however many times I want, right? That's why we're doing this. But I can only do that if I have a structure in place. And that's where planning comes into place. So planning is critical, because you need to know where you want to go. If you don't have a plan of what the end goal is, you're just going to be drifting around. So the planning that we do is a 13-week planning system. And this is the framework that's inside the self-journal. And if you're in the Alliance, I believe that you have one, so you understand this. But let me break it down for you if you haven't opened it up or haven't dove deeper into this. We choose 13 weeks because it's close enough where you could see the end in sight, but it's far enough along where you can actually make progress to your goals. So the problem with year-long resolutions is someone sets a resolution on December 31st, and they say, okay, in 12 months, I want to be able to do X, Y, and Z, or I want to have A, B, and C, or whatever it is. 6 months passes, and human nature, people procrastinate. They don't get moving. And then 6 months pass, and they're like, what was my New Year's resolution again? And then if they do remember it, then they slowly start getting to it, and then it just leaves time to dilly-dally and fart around, and you're not making any progress on anything. There's just too much time in a year to procrastinate. So let's shorten that. Let's bring the end closer to us, and let's do little 13-week or 3-month sprints. And because you plan close enough, you can now actually break that down into subsegments. So now we've taken the year, we've now planned out for 3 months. Okay. So we've broken that up. So now 3 months is out. Okay. I want this goal. And now it needs to go through the SMART system of goal setting. So it needs to be specific, measurable. You need to know when you hit it, blah, blah, blah. What we do is we break that down even further into almost reflection points of, am I on target? Am I not on target? So when you hit those reflection points, that's when you say, okay, what do I need to change? What do I need to improve? What do I need to learn? So on and so forth. And then we break that down even further into what I need to do each and every day to get there. So let's take your consulting digital agency that you had, and where you were one client away of being homeless, pretty much. So if you take that 3-month goal of, I want 5 clients, well, we'll break that down into a daily action step of how many prospects or how many people do I need to call on a consistent basis, on a daily basis, in order for me to get an appointment with them. So we just figure out, it's just reverse engineering. Okay, I know that my baseline is 10 calls will get me 1 appointment. And out of 10 appointments, I get 1 client. So how many calls do I need to make each and every day to hit my 3-month goal of 5 clients? You know? So that's why planning is so important, because now you wake up in the morning, there's no question of, what do I need to do today? What's the most important thing I need to do today? Well, it's making those 10 phone calls. You already know. And as soon as that's done, everything else is icing on the cake. If you want to make more calls, go for it. Or if you need to do your books and your accounting that day, do it after those 10 calls. Like all that other little stuff that comes with entrepreneurship, because you're wearing different hats. You're everything. You're customer service. You're the designer. You're the ad guy. And you're the face of the business. So if you at least know your main thing that you have to do, once you get that done, everything else will fall into place.
That's amazing, dude. All of that was pure gold. And I personally, that's how I always look at prospecting, is exactly what you said. And in the beginning, if you're just starting your business, you have to make up in numbers what you lack in skill. In the beginning, you might only close 1 out of 10, but after you do 10, 20, 30 calls, you're going to increase that number. And so to hit your goal, you actually only need to do a few extra calls instead of a ton. So you might start at 1 out of 10, but then by the end of 50 calls, you'll close 3 out of 10. And you get better and better. It's kind of like, in my mind, the difference between doing the best that you can do and doing all that you can do. So like right now, I might only be able to do 10 push-ups in a row. That's the best I can do, but it's not all that I can do, because I wait for 5 more minutes. I can do 10 more push-ups. And then that's still the best I can do. Well, the next time I do it, I can do 12 more push-ups. And that's now the best I can do, but it's still not all I can do. After doing push-ups for a couple weeks, then I can go up to 50 to 100. And there's anybody can 10x to 30x their abilities, but it just takes time. And I think the whole point is to rest very little. Don't let the weeds take over in between all of this. And so it's that productivity time, the white spaces in a calendar. If you leave too much white space in between all your calls, you actually deactivate yourself, and you'll get worse and worse.
Totally. And we were also talking about what's some advice for people who are in the cubicle right now, or do have a full-time job and want to start their business or get it to the next level. Well, when you have this plan in place, now you know all the fluff and filler that's out there that you don't need to focus on, because you already know the one thing that you need to do. So in that 1 hour extra that you have a day after work, that's when you're making the calls. Or on your lunch break, that's when you're making the calls. And as long as you do that, you're going to have a side business that's growing. But yes, I love the idea of the white space for those who have
Like a
who are
calendar?
who are wearing the many hats and
Yeah.
have a lot of tasks to do in the day. This is where the third P. Can we move to the third P,
Yeah, let's go ahead and move to the third piece.
or do you want to talk about P2 still?
I love P2, but so I'm looking at your calendar, for example, behind you,
Yes.
and that thing is full. Is yellow, what does yellow versus white mean?
Yellows are the weekends.
Okay,
Whites weekdays.
gotcha.
Yep.
Okay, cool. And so when you, I guess, are looking at your calendar in the beginning, I guess when people are first coming out of school or they're first starting entrepreneurship after being in a job, they're
Mm-hmm.
used to people telling them what to do. And this is actually a thing I had to, when coming out of college a little over a year ago at this point, um, I was kind of like used to that structured environment where I had like woke up and I had these things to do in the day. And
Mm-hmm.
so I ended up like kind of like making my calendar my boss, right? Like if my calendar said wake up because I had these consultations in the morning, then I would wake up. But if not, I would like end up sleeping in. And so it's like my calendar was my boss.
Yes.
And whether or not I felt like it, if my calendar said I had something to do, I did it. And I feel like that's kind of weird because most people in like when they're an employee, they show up for work whether or not they feel like it. Right. But
Mm-hmm.
then all of a sudden, when you become self-employed in the free enterprise system, you end up taking your feelings into account. You
Yeah.
end up like saying, oh, like I'm self-employed. Like, oh, I don't need to work on a Saturday. I don't feel like it. Or I don't feel
Mm-hmm.
like working late at night. I don't feel like, missing the game on Sundays because I have to go and do whatever. Right. And
Totally.
so like what is up with entrepreneurs where all of a sudden now that they're self-employed, they let their they let their mindset control their day. I love letting my calendar control my day. That's my new boss now.
Totally. Totally. And that's one of the problems of being self-employed or being an entrepreneur is the motivation. What are we grabbing?
I was gonna grab a whiteboard. I got a really good idea. I want to share with everybody here in a second.
Sweet. All right. Awesome. I thought you were getting something to show me. I'm like, oh, did I say something? What's going on? It's motivation, and it's also what happens is the lack of consistency. So when you start out as an entrepreneur and you finally take the leap into self-employment, what happens is you don't have anyone holding you accountable except for yourself. And what's the best way to hold yourself accountable except for really mapping out what you're doing with your time, because that is the number one non-renewable resource. And as soon as that's gone, you can't get it back. So are you going to be the one who's squandering your time and building and not taking full advantage of this opportunity of being self-employed and being an entrepreneur? I think that if you have the opportunity to do it, you should hold yourself accountable and really take advantage, because people would kill to be in your position. So how do we hold ourselves accountable? Through persistence and productivity. So persistence means you just wake up and you do the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. This includes, and what this will do, the same way you wake up and go to work, like people go to work and they've been in the same job for 20 years and they're like, oh yeah, I don't even think about it. It's habit. I don't even set my alarm anymore. It's like I wake up, I take the shower, I put on my suit and tie, and I get to work, and I'm at the office at the same exact time every day because I've been doing it for 20 years. Well, how do we do that as entrepreneurs when we don't have someone who's cutting a check for us, or a boss overseeing us to make sure that we're doing that? It's through the habits that we build, like morning routines. Having a morning routine is huge if you're an entrepreneur and you're just starting out being self-employed. What this does, this conditions your body and your mind that, okay, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z in the morning, and as soon as X, Y, and Z is done, now it's work mode and I can just work. and you put yourself into that framework. It's also blocking off your time. So time blocking. What does time blocking mean? So you have your day structured in a way. So say you're using a Google Calendar, or if you're using a day planner of some sort, or if you're using the self journal, blocking out time on when you're going to do those important tasks. So when are you going to make those calls? Is it going to be the first thing that you do in the morning? It should, if it's the most important. But then what do you do with from 11 to this time, from 2 to this time? Like, what's happening there? Are you building funnels? Are you doing client calls? What is it? What does it look like? And what you'll find out is when you start filling in your day, you're going to see white space, and you're going to be like, holy shit, I have 3 hours in my day from 1 to 4 where I don't have anything. Well, guess what? That is the perfect time to do something to move your business forward. Because here's the thing, that white space is holding you accountable for your time. And that's white space acts as your boss of like, get your ass into gear because you're in work mode. And the key here is to not have any white space when you're first starting out. It's to just pack your day so you create that habit of work. And guess what? You are going to make serious progress if you work a full 8 hours on your business. I mean, I think they did a study where like the average person works 12 hours a week, really working, so you go into a 40-hour a week job, you're really getting like 12 hours of work done because of all like the chit chat and the emails and the Facebook and this and that. So now that you're self-employed, you're running your business. If you work a full 8 hours in a day, oh man, you're going to crush anything that you were doing when you were a full-time employee.
I love that, dude. We actually have a culture here in the office. I want to make sure I say the word right. I think it's Pomodoro or something like that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the Pomodoro.
Pomodoro, right? So there, you can look it up on YouTube. There's going to be a running clock that you can, basically play. And we have a giant TV on our wall. And we basically put that thing on. We plug in. And for the next 24 minutes, nobody talks to each other, and we focus on exactly one task. One task is the most important for the day, and we knock it out. We do that in the morning.
Awesome.
And it has to be done within those 24 minutes. It's almost like an accountability thing too.
Totally. And you know what's weird about human beings is we will figure out a way to finish and complete something within the allotted time that we give it.
Parkinson's law.
Exactly. So if we only give ourselves 24 minutes to complete a task, maybe that task would normally take us an hour to do, but because we set the timeline on it, boom, we have now just increased our productivity and our output to the extreme. So yes.
Dude, when you look at that, like, here's how I think about time as well is you want to think about your annual income and then divide it by like the number of hours you work per day so that you know what your hourly wage is yourself, because you're not getting paid it right now, but you can think about it as like every single time that I really put in the work throughout this time, this is how much I'm really paying myself at the end of the year.
Yes.
And so if you for example, like take a really long hour lunch break, just know that costs you this much amount of money over the course of the year.
Yeah.
So you continue doing that, it's going to compound, and that's how much you'll lose. So yes, like that's a scarcity mindset, not always the best to have, but it's something that will keep the fire under your butt to say, come on, kick it into gear.
Yeah. Yeah. And not saying that you can't have a long lunch. Sometimes it's nice when you're like, yeah, you know what? Today I'm going to go meet up with a friend for lunch because I haven't seen him in a while. But if you do that too often, just know that you're losing money.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Dude, so I had an idea that was kind of in my head where I used to travel a lot and do conference speaking, spoke in like Amsterdam on this subject specifically. So I'm going to share just for like 2 minutes on that.
Yeah.
So relevant. Basically we're talking about like belief is the number one thing that you need to have. Belief in like the why of what you're doing, You know, the belief in yourself, the belief in your opportunity that you have to share digital marketing, you know, services or e-commerce products. Like you have to have a full, like focused belief. And so this is a method that we came up with, me and my team back in the day. Not sure if it's going to be reversed for everybody, but this is the B.E.A.R method. So basically, it all starts here with belief. And when you believe, you get excited. When you get excited, you take massive action. And when you take massive action, you get massive results. So this is always a circle. It's always moving in one direction or the other. So Allen, basically, if you really believed that you had a great opportunity with your products, how excited would you be to make a video on those products?
I'd be stoked. I'd be like, let's make a video a day. Let's make 6 videos.
Dude, 6 videos. That's a lot of action, right?
Yeah.
So if you do 6 videos today, Allen, how much results do you think that you'll get? How many books do you think you'll sell if you do 6 videos?
Tons.
Right? And so when you sell those books, it's going to reinforce the belief that you have that your products are badass. And so when you have that belief, all those testimonials and people saying like how much you've changed their lives, that gets you really excited to do more videos, to sell more books. And it goes and continues in this cycle over and over again. However, this is how most of the world works. They don't believe that they are all that hot shit. And so they don't get very excited about going and sharing their opportunity. And even if they do, and they just like go straight over here to action without the excitement, it's like basically going door to door on sales and saying, hey, you wouldn't happen to want to buy one of these, would you? And you go to 100 doors, and by the end, like, of course, you're not going to sell any products. And then if you miss this step, the excitement, you got to get excited about your products.
Totally.
At the end of it, you take all this action without that, well, the results are going to be that effective. And you're going to say, see, I told you. Nobody believes in me. Nobody thinks that my stuff is all that great. And so your belief goes down. You get even less excited, take less action, you get less results. And this is the constant spiral so many people in the world are in, where they're just like thinking when it rains, it pours, and like, you know, they're blaming everybody in the world except themselves. But here's the thing is, you can control your level of belief. It all starts with this mindset right here. Your books, your practices, your journals, your coaching, it's instilling belief that they have an organization, a structure, and the mindset to succeed. And when you have your goals posted behind you and you know exactly what you want to do every day, when you post your why in your journal, that gets you really excited. It fills you with belief that you have the right thing going on in your life, that you take action results. And so this is like my personal formula for success in my own life. I think about this all the time.
So can I tell you, I'm stoked that you shared this, because can I jump in on this?
Dude, I would love you to.
All right, awesome. Okay, so when I had a full-time job, the self-journal wasn't even around. I was picking up some website clients here and there while I had a full-time job, and that was like my side hustle. But I had a Moleskine blank notebook, and I would structure out the similar framework as the self-journal. It's a little different, but that's what I used to do every day: time blocking, goal setting, this and that. And I would write my goal 3 times a day. And one of my goals was $100,000 a month by 28 years old. And I was working in corporate America and had this little side thing going. And I wrote that down each and every day. And I just believed that was going to happen. That was going to happen. That was going to happen. Then all of a sudden my business partner said, Allen, you want to go into business together? I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. Let's do that. Then we had the business together. And then, and by this time I was already out of corporate America. But every day, $100,000 by 28 years old, $100,000 by 28 years old, per month by 28 years old, right? So then we launched a Kickstarter, and then other things kept happening. And then we sold that business, and then like things started snowballing. And I remember I turned 28 years old, and I was like, wait a second. Wait, like today's my birthday. Hold on one second. And I go into the Shopify dashboard, and then I'm also have my consultancy. I'm like, holy shit. I literally made $100,000 in 30 days by the time I was 28 years old. And I know it's just that belief that happens. So this isn't the only thing that's come about. Let me tell you everything else, because you're gonna fucking lose your mind.
You're getting me fired up right now.
Okay, so we wanted to raise $200,000 on Kickstarter. That was our internal goal. So I wrote that down every day. $200,000 on our Kickstarter. $200,000 on our Kickstarter. We ended up raising $322,000 in 34 days.
Wow.
All right. Then I said I wanted to win the Shopify Build a Business competition. I just freaking believe that I'm going to win the Shopify Build a Business competition, because that t-shirt company, that was a Shopify Build a Business competition company, or that started because of that competition. I'm like, oh yeah, Damon John, Tim Ferriss. I want them as my mentors. But I was like, okay, this go around, I'm going to win the Shopify Build a Business competition. Sure as hell, we won. Then I said, you know what I want to do? I want to win Forbes 30 under 30 this year. I just wrote that down. Yeah, I'm going to win. I'm going to win. Sure enough, Forbes 30 under 30. I'm telling you, if you believe it, you will get excited, you will take action, and you'll get results.
That's amazing. What a great testimonial. It reminds me of that chapter in Think and Grow Rich, where Napoleon Hill writes, what a mind can believe and conceive, it can achieve.
Yes.
And so that is so cool. You almost like manifested it, you know?
Seriously. My wife calls me the most manifesty person ever.
Manifesty. That's a hilarious word. Dude, that is so amazing though. And I did something similar. I wrote down a check to myself for $10,000 and signed it in my own name. And literally about a year later, I kept that on my dashboard of my car. Just kind of like taped it right there. So it was always in front of me. And literally a year later, you can go back probably like 4 or 5 Facebook photos into my timeline. I got one of those giant checks.
Nice.
From the Atlanta Chamber of Commerce for winning basically like the Atlanta Shark Tank.
Really?
Yeah. So I was like Mr. Atlanta there, and they gave me this check for $10,000, and it had my name and it had like all of it. It was like, dude, I manifested. I have a video on my phone of actually being like, you know, here's my little check and here's my big check. Like, look what I manifested.
That's
whatever
awesome,
you visualize, you can materialize.
Seriously, you can. You can. Now, let's just say this isn't sitting on your ass and just visualizing and hoping everything will come to you. No, this is taking action.
Yeah, this isn't belief and then results. Yeah. Like no. It doesn't go there, right? Like no. You are just as important.
Exactly.
Well, awesome. Okay, so we had positivity.
Mm-hmm.
Then we went into planning pretty deep. All right, so what about persistence and productivity? What do you have for us there?
So I touched a little bit on persistence and productivity here. It's doing consistent, repetitive things on a daily basis that get you out of floating around and drifting. This is morning routines. This is your 20-mile march. This is having 0 white space on your calendar. So that's persistence and productivity.
Awesome. I love that.
Yes.
And so what's the last P for the foundation for building an amazing success story for yourself?
It has to do with people. That's the 4th P, people. People are so important, whether it's your customers, whether it's your clients, whether it's your business partners. And this can go even further into accountability partnerships, communities that you're a part of, mastermind groups, mentors, because people will help you achieve anything that you want. So if you want to start a business, but you have no idea how to start or what to start, find someone who's already done it to teach you or just shine the light. If you want to elevate yourself, and if you're tired of the environment that you're living in, find a community like the Alliance where you can collaborate with people who have the same mission as you. Because I'll tell you what, it's so much easier to share that mission with other people who actually get it and who understand, like, I don't want to go to college. I want to start my own business, or I just graduated college, and instead of, pursuing this degree that I just spent time getting, I'm going to do something completely different. Your peers normally won't understand that. So if you have a peer group that does understand it, that does get it, that does fuel you up and helps you reinforce the belief that you have, it's tremendous. And then accountability partnership is huge, because actually that's how my business partner and I started. We wanted to find a community of like-minded people. We did. Out of that community of like-minded people, we stood out. Out of that, because we stood out, we attracted one another. And then we're like, let's hold each other accountable while we're building our businesses simultaneously. And we had an accountability partner for a year. So we understood each other. We knew how each other worked, how we flowed, what our strengths were, what our weaknesses were. And then after a year, Catherine's like, should we do something together? Because we have like these complementary skills. Like, I kind of think it would be cool. And we did. And then we started a business together and had our businesses separately. And it was awesome. And now we have this huge, amazing company. And I absolutely love our partnership. We just complement one another so well. So
that is
people is huge.
Absolutely, man. I would say, like, in my personal opinion, it's the most important. You are the sum of your 5 closest friends, birds of a feather flock together. Like, everybody realizes, like, they create sayings because this is such a true fact, right?
It
so
is.
It's like, we need to make sure that we pay really close attention to this detail of the equation.
Totally.
What is the most famous one, right? I think Bill Gates or somebody said it. Your network is your net worth. Surround yourself and elevate your relationships around you. And by default, you will succeed. You'll elevate to their level. And you have to have different categories of who you spend your time with. So there's people that you should spend 80% of your time with, and then people you should only spend 20% of your time with. And as much as you love to hang out with those 20% people, they're a lot of fun, but they're not going to get you anywhere. And you still need to make sure that they're loved, and you help them out. Like, you can give back to that crowd, but you need to make sure that you're not the smartest one in the room. You're always, elevating your relationships.
Yep. So I think James Altucher has a 30-30-30 approach. Spend 30% of the time with people beneath you, spend 30% of your time with your peers, and then 30% of your time with people ahead of you so you can learn. And I like that. Do I spend 30-30-30? No, but I try to hit all that gambit.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And this is scary it's a really scary step, actually, when you're trying to elevate. I want you to think about it like this, right? So, like, what if we lived in a whole nother world and just pretend like we're not here anymore? We're not on planet Earth. We're on, planet Mirth. And on this planet, like, everybody is in kind of working their way through grade school. And everybody expects that, there's only 5 grades. Now, we all know that there's more grades out there, but, in this system, it's okay to stop at 5th grade. Now, here on Earth, how long do you expect your kid to be in 4th grade if you had a kid?
1 year.
1 year. And if you got if it was approaching 1 year, it didn't look like he was actually going to hit the end of that grade and get the right grades to move on, what were you going to do to him?
You're either going to push him. Yeah, push him. Or have a talk with the teacher and like slip the teacher a couple of bucks.
I wish that was possible. I wish you could slip success a little, like, a little dollar bill in the hand and he lets you in.
No, I'm joking. Yes.
But no, totally. So, like, you put on the pressure. And I think that to go from 4th grade to 5th grade, if you're not about to hit that goal, you need your surrounding environment to put the pressure on you to say, come on now, you're better than that. You can succeed. But we're here on Earth, on Mirth, and on this planet, everybody's expected not to go into 5th grade. In fact, it's such a scary process that, they say, oh, you're going to the 5th grade? They got to do real work there. That's a scary place to go. I'm comfortable here doing the same coloring, things every single day. And so that's like the reality a lot of us live in right now, is everybody is complacent in life and they're doing the same thing day in and day out. They're going to the same job. They're in the same car. They just do the same thing over and over again, and they never try and go to the next grade.
Yep.
And so it's because they don't have the influence around them to say, come on, push, go past this. Yes, it's good to go to fourth grade, but it's not good to stay in fourth grade. Go to fifth grade. And so this is not just going to happen, though, when you go from fourth grade to fifth grade. It's going to happen again when you go to sixth grade. And all the people in fifth grade, when you go to sixth grade, are going to say, wait, you're trying to leave us? You're trying to go past the fifth grade? What are you doing? Come on. It's so great here. It's so comfortable here. And you have to have that internal spirit to say, no, I'm going to move on. I have to evolve. And that's fine for you guys not to want to evolve, but I got to leave you all. And I got to hang out with the sixth graders. And you got to do it again and again and again. And it's painful to go from fourth to fifth.
And then it's painful to go from fifth to sixth grade.
Yeah.
It sucks. Who wants to, sixth grade? I've never been there before. I'm starting to like this fifth grade level.
Yeah. Nope. Right. So it's like the same thing with income, right? So if you are comfortable right now making $3,000 a month, well, you got to start hanging around with people that are making $10,000 a month to get there. And so you got to leave all the people making $3,000 a month and move into a higher level class. And all of these people, you're going to start hanging out with $10,000 per month people. And that's going to be great. And you're going to get comfortable and you're going to feel good. And you're getting into the routines that $10,000 a month people get into.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be a breaking point. We're going to look around and say, you know what? I can do better than this. This is not my blueprint of success. Let me go past this and go into the $25,000 per month category. And eventually they're going to be like you at 28 years old with new friends, new relationships, and you're going to be at the point that you're making $100,000 per month at 28 years old. And it comes because you got to evolve your relationships, right? Like we're all caterpillars. We need to evolve. We need to change ourselves and our environment in order to evolve into a butterfly. That's what it all comes down to. Nature understands this.
Yeah. And I think the biggest expenditure for me is to put myself and people around myself, to surround myself with people ahead of me and people who are doing the shit that I want to do. It gets scary and you're like, oh man, like, do I really need to spend more to be with this group? But once you're there, my mindset is like, okay, how can I 10x this as an investment? Like if I make this an investment to join this mastermind or to surround myself with these people, how can I 10x that and get myself to their level as quickly as possible? But yeah, you constantly have to keep evolving and keep pushing yourself up and up and up and up.
Yeah. And, that's why I really love what the Entrepreneur Alliance is doing right now is we're helping you connect with all these other internet entrepreneurs, raising your associations. I can guarantee you none of your free Facebook groups you're a part of have the quality of relationships that you have in here. And if you guys are in EA right now and you haven't yet reached out to some of the other people that are involved, maybe you look on the map. If you go to jointhealliance.co/map, you can actually see our member map of where everybody is and check out the little dots that are in your area. I guarantee that you never knew that your neighbor was actually had a side hustle online business where he had a ton of ebooks in his garage that he was going to ship out every day unless you saw that he was on the map. And so it's stuff like that you can utilize the Entrepreneur Alliance to elevate your relationships. We're going to be adding here in the next few months some premium memberships that will we're going to create systems for creating masterminds and accountability partners and making all of that be able to include everybody from every category, but more importantly, make sure it's a relevant connection. So if you're in digital marketing, we're going to find another digital marketer that's also successful and pair you guys together so that you can amplify each other and make sure that every day you wake up, you say, hey, John, how many consultations do you have today? Oh, you only have 4? Come on. We said we're going to get 5 today. Like, it's good to have somebody on your back like that. And so that's the next step here in EA. Just kind of watch the Facebook timeline and you'll see as we promote that kind of new product.
That's awesome. That's going to be huge to EA's community. Guys, I don't think you understand. Well, one, kudos to you because it's a lot of hard work. I can understand. I couldn't imagine pairing people together and bringing the quality and the value that I know you guys deliver. So I wanted to say kudos to you for doing that. That's huge. That's such a value add. And if you're watching this and you're like, oh yeah, I've done that before, blah, blah, blah. Don't listen, stop what you're doing. That is so important and vital to your success in whatever avenue you're trying to pursue. Don't take it for granted.
I love that. Yeah, thanks, man. So speaking of EA members, I posted that I'm gonna interview the man himself, the owner of the Best Self Co. And they all posted a ton of questions. I'm reading right now some of the questions here in front of me. John Davey asks, are there commonalities and habits or routines amongst high achievers in the world that you've seen as kind of like consistent? Do you know if there's any commonalities, and like if so, maybe what are 3 commonalities you see all successful people have?
The commonalities that I've seen, that's actually, that's a fabulous question, John. So thank you for asking. The commonalities, we've done a ton of research. We've been to seminars, we've paid for events, we've paid for mentors, just trying to pick the brain of people. And we've actually been fortunate enough to pick the brains of people like Tony Robbins directly, literally sitting down with him and figuring out how he operates, what's going on in his life, and how he runs his, I think, like 27 companies, something ridiculous. And then we sat down with Tim Ferriss and figured out how he operates. Damon John, we sat down with him. So, and like, we really want to dissect what makes high achievers, what separates high achievers from just average people. For the top 3 things, I think it would be planning. So the 3-month planning. There's something that we term the 20-mile march. We haven't talked about it. I know I brought it up once, but what is the 20-mile march? Let me break it down for you. The 20-mile march is, does EA know about this?
I don't think they do, no.
Okay, cool. So the 20-mile march has to do with 2 teams of people back in like 1922 or something like that, that wanted to do a race to the South Pole. One team decided, I'm going to push as hard and as fast as possible on the nice days, and on the shitty days, we'll rest and we'll hunker down and camp. So they may do 100 miles during a nice day or consecutive nice days, and then if a storm came, they would hunker down and camp. The other team said, we are going to walk 20 miles, whether it's nice, whether it's a storming out, whether it's overcast, no matter what, or whether just like it's crap weather. We're just going to do 20 miles each and every day. Can you guess which team made it to the South Pole?
The one that was more consistent?
The one that did 20 miles each and every day. And they weren't the only ones, and they didn't just beat them to the South Pole. The other team that walked as far as possible and then hunkered down during the crappy days, they actually ended up all dying. All of them, they died. So they didn't just not make it to the South Pole, they died. So the 20-mile march is huge because this figures out, okay, what's the one thing that I should be doing each and every day on a consistent basis? That's a habit there. The third habit, I would say possibly a morning routine, just to keep you well-rounded. And for those who just want a brief tidbit on a morning routine, cover your physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional health in the morning. Doesn't matter what it is, but as long as you cover those 4 before you start work, the rest, everything else falls in place because you've already got your mind right, you got your spiritual life right, you have your emotions right, and you have your physical well-being right. So I don't care what you do. You could read a book, you could listen to a podcast, go work out, go for a run. Morning routine, it's tremendous. And then I think I'll add one more on there, a fourth one. A fourth habit. Fourth habit would be writing down a why and making it bigger than yourself.
That's amazing. Love it. Yeah, awesome. So, John, I think you definitely answered your question there. You know, being able to talk to Tony Robbins and Tim Ferriss and all the greats of the world, I'm sure you've seen all of their crazy morning habits. And there's a great video about Tony on like what he does in the morning to like wake himself up. He does that plunge and,
Yep.
all kinds of other meditation and just energy spiking.
Yes.
But even as something as simple, like we don't all have an ice bath to jump into, but if it can be as simple as writing down, your why and keeping your goals visually in front of you all the time. Yeah, those are all amazing. So
Yes.
Arjul asks, what are the most effective strategies for getting back into a habit when derailed?
I think this goes right back into a morning routine. So, Arjul, thank you for asking this question. One of the most simple ways is a morning routine, and then do the habit that you're trying to get back right after that morning routine ends. So that's one way to do it. The second way would be to what's called habit stacking. So, for example, say you normally you have habits and you don't even realize it. From like when you wake up in the morning, you go to the bathroom, then you put on your clothes, and then you make a pot of coffee, and then you drink the coffee, then you go and brush your teeth, and then whatever, then put gel in your hair. Like, you have these little habits that you do each and every morning. You may not realize that it's a routine. Same thing goes for like the way that you cook and eat and do this and that. If you're trying to start a habit, it's best to stack it in between your normal routines and habits of doing something. So say like that little morning scenario that I just gave you. So say, great, one thing that I want to add to my life is I want to make sure that I'm drinking enough water. Now I'm staying hydrated. So let me add drinking a bottle of water to my day. But how am I going to remember? How am I going to make that a habit? Well, you wake up in the morning, you go to the bathroom, you put on your clothes, you go make a pot of coffee. When the coffee's brewing, that's where you literally place the bottle of water that you're going to drink for the day. And that's where you drink the water. Then you drink your cup of coffee, then you go and brush your teeth, and then you go put gel in your hair, and then you get on with your day. It's best to stick a habit in between, before, or after something that has already made a routine in your life. And that's the quickest way to get it going. So that's how you start and pick up a new habit, or kickstart a habit that's fallen off.
I love it. Great advice. Yeah, I think that's always tough. I would also say bringing back people is accountability. So like, dude, New Year's resolution came in. We tried to like wake up early and just didn't happen. So what we ended up doing is creating an accountability system here in EA. Have you ever heard of Pavlok?
Yeah,
okay.
I actually use the Pavlok. Go ahead, and then I'll tell my story. So after you.
Absolutely. So like I would say probably like 20 of our members, we all got Pavloks, and including like Dave, me, and a few guys here in the office too.
Nice.
And we made 2 teams in a Facebook group, and we all put our Pavlok on, and we said, hey, between our 2 teams, you're going to get a point every single time that you screenshot or take a photo of you doing your activity of when you wake up. So you first have to like wake up, because the Pavlok's going to shock you out of your bed at 7 a.m. or whatever it is. And as soon as you wake up, you have to have something exciting that gets you going. You can't just wake up and have nothing to do. So create the habit that you're going to do to get you up in the morning. Then you have to take a photo of yourself and then upload it to our groups. And there's going to be a point system out there and all that. Well, there were many times where, God, I did not want to wake up. Right? Like it was either a late night, or it's just like, dark outside still. And, what got me through was the accountability that I would let my team down if I didn't take a shot of me doing my morning yoga. And so I had to upload that photo every single morning. And it was the collection over 21 days or so that it took to make that habit normal for me to like my body to wake me up without the Pavlok. It took me about 21 days to finally get railed back on, but it was because of the accountability there that happened.
Yeah, absolutely. So for some reason last year, in like the middle of last year, I sort of flipped my schedule around, where instead of waking up at 5 a.m. And doing my thing, I started like creeping in and sleeping in later, but then I would stay up later to make up for it. Somewhere along the way, I like fell off. What got me back was Pavlok shocking my ass out of bed.
Guys, if you haven't heard of Pavlok, like it looks like an evil experiment. But you guys should really check it out. It's amazing. It works. It'll definitely like get your hairs on your arm raising when you get shocked.
Sure.
But,
yeah.
Does it work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost addictive in a weird way.
You know, it's funny. Side note, this is totally off topic. I sometimes like to bring that thing to the bar with me and go pick up girls with it. I'll like, hey, you know, put on my watch. It's really fun. And then I just press the little bolt and they go like, oh, and it's really funny in the moment, especially when you're like 2 or 3 drinks in.
Yeah.
It is like everybody in the bar thinks it's hilarious. Right. But yeah, no, it is so much fun to like, it's not just for waking up early. It's for like, if you are smoking cigarettes or if you're like trying to stop drinking or if you're trying to like not eat a certain kind of food. If you really love donuts, shock yourself as you eat the donut and your mind starts saying, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. And eventually that craving is gone. All because of shock therapy.
So actually, Catherine, my business partner, she had she would be like designing on like Photoshop or something, and while she would be designing, she'd be like playing with her hair, right? She wanted to stop playing and fiddling with her hair, so what did she do? Pavlok, shocked herself every time she would touch her hair. Guess what? She doesn't play with her hair anymore.
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
What's so bad about touching your hair?
I don't know.
Okay, so as we wrap up here, man, like what are some of the lessons that you've learned in life through business and like, you know, getting all your acclaims? Like what has been maybe a few stories or whatever that have gotten you this far?
What are stories that have gotten me this far?
Maybe a lesson that you can think of as we're just here wrapping up?
Patience. Patience, I think, would be the biggest one. Trust the process. So like, believe you could do it, trust the process, and just be patient because it's going to come, you know? So if you are dedicated and your mission is to really do what it is that you want to do, whether it's the consultancy, whether it's e-commerce, whether it's public speaking, seminars, I'm trying to think what else, SaaS. What other stuff does EA do?
Yeah, I mean, basically it's anybody that is an internet entrepreneur. That's really our demographic.
Yeah. I just didn't know if there was any like larger sub demographics that I did not mention. If you want to do any of that, just be patient with the process because it's all going to fall in place. And don't forget, it is a process because here's the deal. Here's what happens. Someone asked me, "Oh, Allen, what would happen if you had this success a year ago or 2 years ago or 5 years ago? What would your life be like?" I straight up told him, I wish that didn't happen because here's your mind and your body and what you're comfortable with. It wouldn't be able to handle it. I would not be able to handle managing a team of 18. I wouldn't be able to manage, 3 fulfillment centers across the world. I wouldn't be able to manage the money that was coming in. I didn't develop the muscles and the skill set I needed. So everything that you're doing right now is going to compound on top of one another. Everything that you're doing right now, you're learning to achieve more. You're learning to receive more. You're learning to manage more, right? And if you trust that process, you're going to get more to manage, and then you manage more. Whatever you're trying to manage, whether it's money, whether it's people, whether it's logistics, whether it's clients, whatever. Just know that there is a process, and it does take time.
Yeah, that's amazing. Awesome, dude. Well, I don't want to take up much more of your time, but if people wanted to find you and reach out, follow your story as you continue on making a crazy empire like you have now, where can they find you? What's the best way?
Best way is to connect with me on Facebook. Just find my my personal Facebook account, connect with me on there. If you try to email me, that gets fielded by virtual assistants and you'll never get through, so don't try that. If you want to follow the business, go to bestself.co. And if you want to find out the inner workings of the business, how it works from a marketing standpoint, I sort of share behind the scenes. I pull the curtain behind so people can take a glimpse of like what's happening at turnonthehustle.com. That will just direct you to to the Facebook group that I have, and I teach what's working in our business now and how you can go about implementing it, etc.
I love it, man. Guys, go out and follow this dude. Obviously, he's one of the most successful people that we've ever had on. And I can tell you what, you continue following his story, you're going to get better by just association there. Seeing him as a goal and seeing him, crack $100,000 by, what was it, 28?
$100,000 a month by 28 years old. Oh, but I will say this. Okay, here's why being very specific with your goal is important. Because yes, I did make $100,000 a month by 28 years old, but it was revenue. It wasn't income. And there's a big difference.
Totally. Yeah. One time we spent $67,000 on ads and we made $67,000 in a month. And out of that was 60,000 bills from Facebook and ads. And we only made $7,000. You can say, oh yeah, we made a $67,000 a month. Look at us. But at the end of the day, we didn't take home much. So
exactly.
Very specific about your goals. I love that. Guys, that's what it takes to get on Forbes 30 under 30.
And that's all you have to do.
Awesome. Hey, this is another great masterclass here with the Entrepreneur Alliance. So glad you guys stuck on by, and I'll see you on the inside. Peace.
Thanks again, Austin.